In the endless darkness of space, Layla sat alone in her small scout ship. The hum of the engines was the only sound filling the quiet cabin. She had been traveling for weeks, scanning the empty void for anything unusual. Her job was simple: look for signs of activity, report back if she found something, and stay hidden at all times. But so far, there had been nothing. Just stars, planets, and the occasional asteroid. It was lonely work, but Layla didn't mind. She liked the silence. Her people, the Zinnerans, had always told stories about humans. They were legends, creatures from old tales that no one really believed existed anymore. According to the stories, humans were once a powerful race who explored the galaxy long ago. But then they disappeared, leaving behind only whispers of their existence. Some said they died out. Others claimed they never existed at all and were just made-up stories. Layla had grown up hearing these tales, but she never thought much of them. To her, humans were just myths, nothing more. That changed on a cold, quiet day when her radar system picked up something strange. At first, it was just a blip, barely noticeable. Layla frowned and leaned closer to the screen. "What is that?" she muttered to herself. She adjusted the controls, trying to get a clearer reading. The signal grew stronger, and her heart began to race. Whatever it wasn't natural. It wasn't an asteroid or a random piece of space junk. This was something else entirely. Layla's hands moved quickly over the controls as she tried to identify the object. Her scanner showed that it was a ship, but not one like hers. It was larger, clunky, and looked almost primitive. Still, there was something about its design that fascinated her. It was different from anything she had ever seen before. Could it be? No, it couldn't be. Humans weren't real. They were just stories, weren't they? She stared at the screen, her mind racing. If this really was a human ship, it would change everything. For centuries, her people had dismissed humans as legends. Finding proof that they actually existed would shake the very foundation of what everyone believed. Layla felt a mix of excitement and fear bubbling inside her. What should she do? Should she report it to her superiors, or should she investigate on her own? Her fingers hovered over the communication panel, ready to send a message back to base. But then she stopped. Something held her back. Maybe it was curiosity. Maybe it was the thrill of discovery. Whatever it was, she decided to keep quiet, for now. Instead, she activated her cloaking device, making her ship invisible to anyone nearby. Slowly, carefully, she guided her vessel closer to the mysterious ship. As she approached, Layla's breath caught in her throat. The ship was even stranger up close. Its surface was scarred with dents and scratches, as if it had been through countless battles. It didn't look advanced at all compared to her sleek, high-tech scout ship, and yet there was a certain charm to it. It looked alive, somehow, like it had a story to tell. Layla's radar confirmed that the ship was still active. There were life forms aboard, living, breathing beings. Her heart pounded harder. Were they really humans, or was this some other kind of alien species? She wanted to know, but she also knew the risks. If she made contact, she could put herself, and possibly her entire planet, in danger. But how could she just leave without finding out? For hours, she stayed hidden, watching the ship drift silently through space. Finally, she made up her mind. She would send a message, a simple, harmless transmission using universal frequencies. If they responded, she would know for sure. If they didn't, well, at least she could say she tried. Taking a deep breath, Layla typed out the message and hit send. Then she waited. Seconds felt like minutes, and minutes felt like hours. Just when she started to think she had made a mistake, her screen flickered. A response appeared, written in a language she didn't recognize at first. But then her translator kicked in, converting the words into something she could understand. "We see you," the message read. "Who are you?" Layla's eyes widened. They had responded. They were real. Humans were real. Layla's heart raced as she stared at the screen. The words, "We see you," were simple, but they carried so much weight. Humans were real. They weren't just stories or legends. They were alive, and they were right there in front of her. She felt a strange mix of excitement and fear. What should she do next? Should she reply? Or should she retreat and tell her superiors what she had found? Her mind was spinning, but she knew she couldn't ignore them. Slowly, she typed out a response. "I am Layla. I mean no harm." She hesitated for a moment before hitting send. Her fingers trembled as she waited for their reply. Seconds later, another message appeared on her screen. "We are Captain Ryan Carter and his crew. Who are you, and where are you from?" Layla swallowed hard. She wasn't sure how much to reveal. Telling them too much could put her planet in danger, but being too secretive might make them suspicious. Finally, she decided to keep it simple. "I am from a distant world. I detected your ship and wanted to learn more." She hit send and waited again. The humans seemed curious. Their next message came quickly. "We thought we were alone out here. Are there others like you?" Layla hesitated. She didn't want to lie, but she also didn't want to give away too much information. "There are others," she replied carefully, "but I am alone on this mission." For a while, the messages kept coming. The humans asked questions about her ship, her technology, and her people. Layla answered as best she could without revealing too much. At the same time, she began asking questions of her own. She learned that their ship was called the Odyssey *, and they were explorers sent to chart unknown regions of space. Their goal was to find signs of intelligent life, something they hadn't expected to discover so soon. As the conversation continued, Layla found herself growing more comfortable. The humans seemed friendly, even though they were cautious. She admired their curiosity and their willingness to talk to someone so different from themselves. But she also knew that this situation was dangerous. If her superiors found out she was communicating with humans, she would be in serious trouble. Her thoughts were interrupted when a new message appeared. "Can we meet face to face?" Layla froze. Meeting them in person would be risky. It would mean revealing her location and possibly putting both sides in danger. But at the same time, she wanted to see them, to confirm with her own eyes that they were real. She took a deep breath and typed out her reply. "Not yet. It is not safe." The humans seemed disappointed but understanding. "We respect your decision," they wrote back, "but we hope to learn more about you." As the hours passed, Layla realized she was enjoying the exchange. For the first time in her life, she felt connected to something greater than herself. These humans were strangers, but they shared her love of discovery and exploration. Still, she knew she couldn't keep this secret forever. Sooner or later, she would have to tell her superiors what she had found. When she finally ended the communication, Layla leaned back in her seat and let out a long sigh. Her mind was racing with questions. What did this mean for her people? For the humans, could they coexist peacefully, or would their differences lead to conflict? She didn't have the answers, but one thing was clear: everything had changed. As she prepared to leave the area, Layla glanced at the human ship one last time. It was still drifting silently through space, unaware of the impact it had made. For now, she would keep their existence a secret, but deep down, she knew this was only the beginning. The next few days passed slowly for Layla. She couldn't stop thinking about the humans and their ship, the Odyssey *. Even though she had ended their communication, her mind kept replaying their messages. They were curious, friendly, and surprisingly open to talking to someone so different from themselves. It was strange, but also exciting. For the first time in her life, Layla felt like she was part of something bigger, something that could change everything. But she also knew she was in a difficult position. Her superiors on Zanara wouldn't approve of what she had done. Contacting humans, or any alien species, without permission was against the rules. If they found out, she would face serious consequences. Still, she couldn't bring herself to regret it. The humans had sparked something in her. a sense of wonder and curiosity she hadn't felt before. Layla decided to keep watching them from a distance. Using her cloaking device, she stayed hidden while observing the Odyssey asterisk. The humans seemed busy with their work, scanning nearby planets and collecting data. Sometimes, they sent small probes into space to explore farther regions. Layla marveled at their determination. Their technology was far behind hers, but they made up for it with creativity and teamwork. One day, as she watched, something unexpected happened. The Odyssey asterisk's communication system activated again. A message appeared on her screen. "Layla, are you still there?" Her heart skipped a beat. She hadn't expected them to reach out again so soon. Part of her wanted to ignore the message, but another part, the curious, excited part, couldn't resist responding. "Yes, I am here," she typed back. "What do you want?" The humans replied quickly. "We've been thinking about what you said, about it not being safe to meet. Can you tell us more? What is dangerous about this situation?" Layla hesitated. She didn't want to scare them, but she also didn't want to lie. Finally, she decided to be honest. "My people do not know about you yet. If they find out I have contacted you, they may see it as a threat. I do not want either of us to get hurt." The humans seemed surprised but understanding. "We don't want to cause trouble," they wrote. "But we also don't want to leave without learning more. Is there any way we can help you feel safer?" Layla thought about it for a moment. She knew the humans were trying to be kind, but their offer only made things more complicated. How could they help when they didn't even understand the risks? Still, she appreciated their effort. Slowly, she typed out a reply. "Thank you for your concern. But for now, it is better if we stay apart." The humans didn't argue. Instead, they asked another question. "Can you at least tell us about your world? Your people? We'd like to understand you better." Layla smiled faintly. Their curiosity reminded her of herself. She decided to share a little more. Over the next hour, she told them about Zenara, her home planet. She described its vast oceans, towering mountains, and glowing cities powered by advanced energy systems. She talked about her people's love for science and exploration, though she avoided mentioning their strict rules and distrust of outsiders. The humans listened carefully, asking thoughtful questions along the way. They seemed genuinely interested in her world, and Layla found herself enjoying the conversation. For a brief moment, she forgot about the danger and focused on the connection they were building. When the conversation finally ended, Layla felt a mix of emotions. She was happy to have shared part of her life with the humans, but she was also worried about what might happen next. She knew she couldn't keep this. Layla couldn't shake the feeling that she was being watched. It wasn't the humans this time. It was something closer to home. Her ship's sensors had picked up faint signals in the distance, signals that didn't belong to the Odyssey asterisk. At first, she thought it might be random space debris or interference from nearby stars. But as the signals grew stronger, her stomach tightened with dread. She recognized them. They were Zenaran ships, her own people. Her mind raced. Why were they here? Had her superiors somehow discovered her secret? Layla quickly checked her cloaking device to make sure it was still active. The last thing she needed was for the humans to see her, or worse, for her own people to catch her talking to them. She tried to stay calm and think clearly. Maybe the ships were just passing through. Maybe they weren't looking for her at all. But deep down, she knew better. Zenarans didn't travel in groups like this unless they had a specific mission. And given what had happened over the past few days, it was hard not to suspect the worst. What if someone had intercepted her messages to the humans? What if her superiors already knew everything? Layla decided to act fast. She sent a quick, coded message to the Odyssey asterisk, warning them to stay quiet and avoid detection. "Do not respond," she wrote. "Just listen. My people are nearby. They cannot find you." She didn't have time to explain further. The Zenaran ships were getting closer, and she needed to figure out what to do next. Moments later, her communication panel lit up. It was Commander Kale, her superior officer. His voice was stern and cold. "Layla, report your position immediately. We have reason to believe you are not following protocol." Her heart sank. So they did know, or at least they suspected. Layla hesitated before responding. She couldn't lie outright, but she also couldn't tell him the truth. "I am conducting routine scans," she said carefully. "Nothing unusual has been detected." There was a long pause on the other end. When Kale spoke again, his tone was even sharper. "That is not what our data shows. Stand by for further instructions." Layla felt trapped. If the Zinnerans found the Odyssey *, there was no telling. The Zinneran ships moved slowly through the asteroid field, their scanners sweeping every rock and shadow. Layla held her breath, watching the sensors on her screen. The humans were hiding somewhere in that maze of rocks, silent and still. If the Zinnerans found them, there would be no way to stop what came next. Her people didn't tolerate outsiders, not when they felt threatened. And right now, Layla knew they were suspicious. Commander Kale's voice crackled over the communication panel. "Anything unusual?" he asked, his tone sharp. "Nothing yet," Layla replied, trying to sound calm. "Just asteroids and dust." Kale didn't respond immediately. Instead, his ship continued its careful search. Layla could see the tension in the movements of the other vessels. When Layla returned to Zenera, she knew she was in trouble. The moment her ship landed at the base, a group of officers was waiting for her. Their expressions were cold and unreadable, but Layla could feel the tension in the air. Commander Kale stepped forward, his arms crossed tightly over his chest. "Layla," he said, his voice firm and unyielding, "you will come with us." She didn't argue. There was no point. She had known this moment would come ever since she helped the humans escape. As they led her to the command center, Layla kept her head high. She had made her choices, and she was ready to face the consequences. Inside the command center, the room was dimly lit, with screens flashing data along the walls. Kale stood at the front, flanked by other high-ranking officers. They stared at her as if she were some kind of criminal. Maybe, in their eyes, she was. "Explain yourself," Kale demanded. "Why did you disobey direct orders? Why did you interfere with our operations?" Layla took a deep breath. She couldn't tell them everything. Not about the humans or how much she had shared with them. But she could speak the truth about why she had acted. "I did what I thought was right," she said calmly. "I saw an opportunity to learn, to understand something new. Isn't that what we're supposed to do? Explore, discover." Kale's jaw tightened. "You put our entire planet at risk. You contacted outsiders without permission. You gave them information that could be used against us." Layla hesitated. She couldn't deny it, but she also couldn't let them think the humans were dangerous. "They aren't a threat," she said firmly. "They're explorers, just like us. They want to learn, not fight. If we attack them, we'll only prove their worst fears about us." The room fell silent. The officers exchanged glances, unsure how to respond. Finally, one of them spoke up. "How can you be so sure? You barely know them." "I know enough," Layla replied. "I've spoken with them. I've seen their curiosity, their willingness to trust. They're not perfect, but neither are we. If we judge them before we even try to understand them, we're no better than the enemies we fear." Her words hung in the air, heavy and defiant. For a moment, no one spoke. Then Kale stepped closer, his eyes narrowing. "You've broken every rule we have. What makes you think you deserve mercy?" Layla met his gaze without flinching. "Because I acted out of hope instead of fear. Because I believe we can grow stronger by learning from others, not by shutting them out. If you punish me, fine. But don't punish them for something they haven't done." Kale studied her for a long time, his expression unreadable. Finally, he sighed and turned to the other officers. "Leave us," he ordered. When the room was empty except for the two of them, he turned back to Layla. His voice softened slightly. "You've always been reckless, Layla. But you've never been selfish. I see that now." She blinked in surprise. Was he forgiving her? "I won't report this incident," Kel continued. "But you must promise me one thing. No more contact with the humans. If they come near us again, we won't hesitate to act. Do you understand?" Layla nodded slowly. It wasn't the outcome she had hoped for, but it was better than she expected. "I understand," she said quietly. As she left the command center, Layla felt a mix of relief and sadness. She had been given a second chance, but it came with a heavy price. She couldn't reach out to the humans again, not directly. Still, she held on to the belief that someday things might change. Someday her people might see the value in reaching across the stars instead of turning away. For now, though, all she could do was wait and hope. Months passed, and Layla returned to her duties as a scout. Her days were quieter now, filled with routine scans of empty space and long hours of solitude. But no matter how hard she tried to focus on her work, her thoughts always drifted back to the humans. She wondered what they were doing, where they had gone, and if they were safe. Sometimes, late at night, she replayed their messages in her mind, remembering the warmth in their words and the trust they had shown her. One evening, as her ship drifted through a quiet corner of space, her communication panel flickered to life. At first, she thought it was just interference. Then, a message appeared on her screen. "Layla, it's us, Ryan and the crew." Her heart skipped a beat. She hadn't expected to hear from them again, not after everything that had happened. The message continued. "We're far from your planet now, but we wanted to thank you one last time. You saved us, and we'll never forget that. If you ever need help, or if you just want to talk, you'll always have friends here." Layla stared at the screen, her eyes filling with tears. She hadn't realized how much she needed to hear those words. For so long she had felt alone, caught between two worlds that didn't understand each other. But now, for the first time, she felt like she truly belonged somewhere, even if it was millions of miles away. She typed out a reply, her fingers trembling slightly. "Thank you. I'll never forget you either." She hesitated before adding, "Maybe someday our people can meet without fear. Until then, stay safe." The humans responded quickly. "We hope for the same. Take care, Layla." As the transmission ended, Layla leaned back in her seat and let out a long breath. The weight she had been carrying for months seemed lighter now. She knew the road ahead wouldn't be easy. Her people still feared outsiders, and the humans still had much to learn about the galaxy. But Layla believed that change was possible, if only one person was willing to take the first step. In the weeks that followed, Layla began to dream of a future where humans and Xenorans could coexist peacefully. She imagined exchanges of knowledge, shared discoveries, and friendships that bridged the gap between their worlds. It was a distant dream, maybe even an impossible one. But Layla had seen enough to know that nothing was truly impossible, not when there was hope. Her superiors never spoke of the incident again, and Layla kept her promise not to contact the humans. But she also began to share her thoughts with others. Carefully, quietly, planting seeds of curiosity and understanding wherever she could. She told stories of the humans' courage and resilience, hoping to shift the way her people saw outsiders. It was a slow process, but she was patient. Change, she knew, took time. One day, as her ship drifted past a glowing nebula, Layla smiled to herself. She had started something, a small spark of connection in a vast and lonely universe. And though she might never see the humans again, she knew their impact would stay with her forever. For the first time, in a long time, Layla felt hopeful. The stars ahead weren't just empty space, they were full of possibilities. And she was ready to explore them, one step at a time.